Congresswoman Cori Bush represents Missouri's 1st District, St. Louis, with the fiery intensity of any mindless politician who's clearly angry but not exactly sure why. Bush actually held a respectable job before finagling her way into Congress. She is a registered nurse. Despite having a job that is seemingly always in demand, somewhere along the way, Bush apparently made some serious mistakes and ended up being evicted 3 times from 3 different apartments and living in her car. Of course, because today everyone is a victim of society, we're led to believe Cori Bush's evictions were the result of some horrible white supremacist capitalist inequity and not simply the result of horrible personal decisions that led Bush to not be able to pay her rent. She was sued in 2015 by a landlord she cheated, and a court forced her to pay thousands of dollars. Cori Bush also proudly proclaims to be the first activist from the movement fighting for Black lives elected to Congress, a statement that is beyond ironic, considering Cori Bush represents the most dangerous city in the entire country. St. Louis has the nation's highest murder rate, which has skyrocketed in the 1 year that she has been in office. It cannot be challenged. The policies that Cori Bush supports are killing Black Americans at an astonishing rate. It's truly incredible. And then this week, Bush decided to tarnish her image even further. On CBS, she showed her true colors in one of the worst interviews I've ever seen. A congresswoman with an ego bigger than St. Louis. Enjoy.
I have private security because my body is worth being on this planet right now. If I end up spending $200,000, if I spend $10 more on it, you know what? I get to be here to do the work. So suck it up, and defunding the police has to happen. We need to defund the police and put that money into social safety nets because we're trying to save lives.
Oof. Imagine being that arrogant while at the same time being that uneducated. And also so motivated to turn your stupid ideas into policies that will inevitably kill your own people. What a dangerous collection of qualities for one person to possess. Cori Bush is literally the perfect storm. A clip so good, we're going to play it one more time. Listen to every word.
I have private security because my body is worth being on this planet right now. If I end up spending $200,000, if I spend $10 more on it, you know what? I get to be here to do the work. So suck it up, and defunding the police has to happen. We need to defund the police and put that money into social safety nets because we're trying to save lives.
This is what happens when people who belong nowhere near power get some power. Imagine her as the president. Nobody is working harder to defund the police, and almost nobody demands more police protection at the same time. She is a walking pile of hypocrisy. It's horrifying, and she doesn't even see it. She puts such a high value on her life. My body needs to be here. She's feeling herself so hard right now. I mean, she is just the most important person she's ever met. My body needs to be here for this work. And every single day, she marginalizes the lives of regular Black people in her own district and all around the country. Somewhere around 200 to 250 people will be murdered in St. Louis this year. The number last year was 263. There's only 300,000 people in the city. It's not a big city. In 2019, prior to Cori Bush's arrival and Black Lives Matter riots and all the damage we've done to cops in this country, that number was 194. So you added 69 more. It's a massive spike, thanks to this kind of talk. That's a lot of dead people. St. Louis last year voted to approve a $4 million cut to their police budget. $4 million. Again, not a big city. That's a lot of cash. The damage of the budget cuts and, of course, Democrats' anti-police rhetoric led to the highest crime rates, highest homicide rate in 50 years in St. Louis. That's astonishing. Cori Bush's anti-police, pro-crime rage was fueled by the 2014 police killing of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, an area that is actually now part of her congressional district. That moment was her inspiration. So it's no wonder why this woman is so confused. The outrage, you'll remember, over Michael Brown's killing was all built on a complete fabrication of a story, one that even the Obama administration had to do a mea culpa over. After the shooting, Michael Brown's partner in crime, the guy he was with that day, lied and told the world that Michael Brown had his hands up and yelled, "Don't shoot," before being ruthlessly murdered by a white supremacist cop. It was all a complete lie, and he recanted it. And to this day, people like Cori Bush and other uneducated people still scream, "Hands up, don't shoot," at BLM rallies, even though we know it is factually confirmed that that was all a lie. They still yell it. How scary is that? In truth, Michael Brown charged young police officer Darren Wilson and tried to steal his gun from him to kill him before he himself was killed. He tried to steal a cop's gun and use it against him and got killed in the process. That's a victim in America today. But the false narrative, of course, is what inspired Cori Bush to go to Washington and push for policies that will drive thousands more young black men in this country into an early grave. And nobody talks about this. It is a story that is completely ignored, and everybody considers these people heroes for the policies that they push. It is astounding. It is horrific. It's so stupid, I can't stand it. Don't worry, though. Congresswoman Bush has more horrible ideas. She made headlines this week, sleeping on the steps of the Capitol to pressure the Biden administration to extend the evictions moratorium, which they ultimately did, a move Biden and Pelosi did not want to make, but of course were forced by their paralyzing fear of the progressive wing of their party. Individual landlords could face up to $100,000 in fines or a year in jail if they violate this order. Moves up to $250,000 if you evict somebody who dies. Bush tweeting, "We are building a politics of love because I love you. I care that you have food to eat. I care that you have a roof over your head. I care that you have what you need to thrive. That's how government should work." It's too bad she doesn't care about all the people in inner cities that are dying because of her policies. Doesn't care about them. How funny is that? Yes, love, of course, for everyone except property owners in this case, which shouldn't surprise anybody. Anybody who owns property in this country, of course, is an evil capitalist colonizer. We know that. Screw them. Who cares if they can't make their mortgage? Here she is, Cori Bush, with Chuck Schumer after the moratorium was extended.
They're walking to the steps. Where are we going?
Boy, oh boy. You guys are fabulous. Stop pushing.
Nobody faker than Chuck Schumer in that town. Nobody. Phony as they come, whichever way the wind blows. Elizabeth Warren pleased as well. Cori Bush showed the power of sharing your personal story, thrice evicted, and fighting from the heart. I'm deeply grateful for her leadership and for everyone who raised their voices to extend the eviction moratorium. Yes, how amazing. Nobody ever has to pay rent in this country again. Hopefully we can extend it forever, and we can just all have free housing. It's the first step towards communism, right? The White House spread the credit around, though. They didn't want to put this all on Cori Bush. The White House certainly not wanting to appear beholden to a freshman congresswoman as radical and crazy as Cori Bush. Look at this.
There was an incredible amount of activism, of calls for an extension of the eviction moratorium by a range of members of Congress. We talked about Congresswoman Bush in a different capacity. She's certainly one of them, and many others joined her in this effort.
Cori Bush just got big time marginalized by the White House, but at the end of the day, the truth is this: the progressives have entirely too much clout and power right now over that White House. The move that was just made, the evictions moratorium extension, is clearly illegal. Even the Washington Post admits that. The previous moratorium expired last week. The CDC was warned by Brett Kavanaugh that they exceeded their authority in doing this. The White House knows that as well. They know this isn't legit. Here's the president.
Whether that option will pass constitutional measure with this administration, I can't tell you. I don't know. But at a minimum, by the time it gets litigated, we'll probably give some additional time while we're getting that $45 billion out to people who are, in fact, behind in the rent and don't have the money.
The truth is, just like enhanced unemployment, there is a large contingent of people in this country who decided they were never going to pay rent again until the government said they had to. There's a lot of them. I know people in this city that just stopped paying rent because why would you? Imagine you're renting an apartment that you're apathetic about, a place that you could easily leave at any time and just find another one. Who cares? Millions of people in this country hang their hats in a different rental apartment every 12 months. People in this position, whether working or not, are the ones who take a moratorium like this and just ride it till it bucks you. And once it ends, they just disappear, leaving a landlord a year's rent missing and a bank that still demands its mortgage. But of course, Democrats couldn't care less about landlords. We know that. And rightly so, those landlords are now out for blood. Look at this quote. Landlords are taking on the Biden administration again after warning that they lost billions of dollars each month under the original ban. Yeah, people just, I'm not paying my rent. Why would I? I'm not going to be the one sucker paying rent while nobody else is. That's the mentality. Why am I going to pay rent when nobody else is? And that's the mentality that's spread throughout this whole country. And for those who think that landlords are just rich, faceless, greedy monsters, according to Market Watch, mom and pop landlords own nearly half of all rental units nationwide. The middle class getting sucker punched again. This moratorium burns them and stalls our economy for even longer as millions on unemployment continue to ignore the millions of job openings in this country and stay on the couch living on the Biden dole.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.